So today we're going to be making a simple tooltip using just CSS and HTML. No JavaScript required. So let's just see it in action. So I like fire, I like blueberries, I like vegetables. It's a fun little project, so let's get going. I'm Eric Constantine. Let's make a simple tooltip. So the first thing that we need to get started is we have to make sure that we have Live Server installed. So I use VS Code. So just make sure that you go to your install plugins and make sure that you have Live Server by Rick Day, 6.5 million, so it's pretty good. So let's go back to our Explorer and we will create a new workspace. We'll just add a folder to workspace. So let's go over here. I'm going to go into my desktop and I will create a new folder. I'll call it Tooltip. And then I'll go into the tooltip, add it up, and then I will create a new file, save the file. This is a Command S to save the file. I'm inside of tooltip, and I'm going just to name it tooltip.html. Okay, now the next part is we're going to be using Emmet to just create our boilerplate. So we put an exclamation mark once, tab, and then it'll just give us this boilerplate. I'm tabbing through everything, and I'm just going to rename it tooltip. And then I'm going to put an H1 in here saying tooltip, save this, and then I'm going to Shift Command P, start a live server, and as you can see here, let's move one to the side, we now have our tooltip. Okay, cool, we are ready to get going. So now that we have our boilerplate set up, let's just set up the HTML framework. So I like to have my HTML be really simple. So let's see. So I'm just going to add a div.container, and then I'm going to have 3 boxes. So I'm going to have a .box -1, and then I will just make a copy of this. And now we have box-2 and box-3. And now I can go up here into my head section and create styles. So this is kind of the old-fashioned way of doing it, but I think it's important to know how to do it just like this. So we can have style. So I will have in my box, I want them to be, let's say 275, or a width of 275 pixels, a height of 75 pixels, and I'm also going to put an outline of 1 pix solid red so we can see that everything is working. So I just saved, and obviously you can see that everything is working. Great. The next thing we're going to do is I want to take this H1 out of here because I don't want to be seeing that all the time. So save that. Okay, good. So now that we have this here, I like to have everything centered on the screen. It just makes it easier to work with. So we're going to be doing that by making some body tag adjustments. So the first thing we need to do is we'll start the body tag right here, and then we'll kill the margin because it adds a small amount, and depending on what the browser is, it can be different. So we'll kill the margin, and then we'll give it a display of flex, and then align item centered, AIC for short, using Emmet, and JCC for justify content center. Save it. Now you'll see it's actually not in the center because the body isn't actually taking up the whole space. So what we have to do is give the body a min height of 100 VH, and that should fix that. So the next part is I like to have all these boxes be different colors so I can actually see what's going on. So let's go ahead and do that. So do box -1, and your background is going to be background red. Let's copy this. Box 2, we'll make this one blue. And copy this, and box 3 will be green. Okay, cool. Now I can get rid of this outline here. So the next thing we want to do is add a special attribute to each one of these properties. So I'll go a data-tooltip, and the tooltip will equal to I like fire, and this one will be data tooltip of I like blueberries. And this last one will be a data tooltip of I like vegetables. Woohoo! Okay, so nothing's going to happen yet because we have no way of showing these, but there is a way of showing it without any special JavaScript. And here, I'll show you how. So first, let's actually add a tooltip class to these so we're not using this box property. Tooltip and tooltip. Great, save that, and I will go and I'll write tooltip and then use a pseudo after class, and then within this I can do a content of, well, let me first say, like, usually you'll see an after class as a content like will be empty or it will be hello. So I can save this and you'll see this is all having hello here. But what I can do is I'll actually just do an attr, which is attribute, and I will have the attribute be data-tooltip. Save this. Great. This is exactly what we wanted. So let's add a little bit of styling to this just so it kind of pops out. First thing we'll do is add a background of white, give it some padding. When I pad, I will normally do, well, let's see, I always do it in M's because it's based on the actual text size, and then I'll do the top will be about half as much as the sides. So we'll do 0.25 M's and 0.5 M's. Save that. Boom. Great. And let's just add a little border on this. Border 1 pixel, solid CCC. That looks pretty good. So the next thing I want to do is I want to position it. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a position absolute to each one of these, but we need the position relative. So the position relative will be based on the actual tooltip itself. So I do POSR, which is emit, short for this, and then I'm going to put a top of 50%, so it's right in the center. But you'll see here when we do a top 50%, it actually puts it it starts right here and then it puts it below. So what we do is we can transform it and then translate, and I will usually do translate both of them at the same time. So this is X and Y, so I'll do the X will be 0 and the Y will be negative 50%, and it's negative 50% of itself. So imagine it will just be moving this part. So let's go ahead and save that, and then perfect. This is exactly centered on this side. The next thing we need to do is center it, or not center it over here, but have it kind of be over here. So what you could do is do left of 250 pixels. It's about right. The thing is, this is what I call a magic number, and magic numbers are not good because this magic number is based on this magic number, and so we don't necessarily know what box is. We only know tooltip, and that's all we really care about. So because box is like this, we are basing this on that, so that's bad. So let's just say this width was 200. Then our tooltip is showing up here, and that's just bad. It's bad practice to do that. So let's fix this. We don't want it to be left of 250 pixels. We want it to be left of, I'm going to say 95%. But we can actually do better than 95%, as you can see in a second. So this is okay, 95%. But what's even better is we will do calc of 100%. Oops, I did cackle. Calc 100%, and then minus I don't know, 20 pixels. Save that. That looks really good. I'll do 25 pixels just to be good, but that looks really good. So now I'm liking this a lot, but let's make this width be a little bit better. So I'll put width of 150 pixels, save that. Okay, that's pretty good. So the next thing that we got to do is we have to have that little triangle right here. So in order to do this, I'm going to use a special border technique that creates a triangle out of CSS. Maybe you've seen this before. I like to use it, so I use it a lot. And it's basically, it goes that you have a transparent on the two, either top and bottom and left and right, and then you have a border on the opposite side of the direction that you're trying to show the triangle to. So in this case, we want the triangle to point left. So in order for it to point left, we have to have transparency on the top and bottom, and then we will have the border right be the one that takes in the color. So let's just go ahead and I'll show you what I mean. So we have tooltip before. Content is going to be nothing. Always put the content first because it is a pseudo element. And then we'll have a border dash left, which will be 10 pixel. Actually, I'm going to start with the top one. So border top, 10 pixels, solid, transparent. Oof, can't tell. And then we're going to do the same thing with a border bottom. 10 pixels solid transparent, and then because I want it to point left, we have to give it a border right. I might have said that wrong earlier, but we'll give it an 8 pixels solid white. Save this. Okay, great. We have this. It's starting. And now we need to move it. So we're going to position it absolutely like we did before. So POSA, position absolute. As soon as you do position absolute, it kind of fixes some of its size too. And we'll do a top of 50% and we'll just copy the transform that we used before, the transform translate. And then for where we want it to be pretty much exactly like this. But we can do it directly from the right. So let's do right 25 pixels. And boom, it's exactly where we want it. Right now, you'll see that we have this little line here. That's because we're starting it as soon as the other one ends. So if I bring this down, I think, to 24. Actually, you'll still see it. Okay, so you're like, okay, what's going on? So what's happening is this before thing is actually underneath this thing. And so what we can do is bring it forward by giving it a z-index of 1, and so now the before element is in front, and that looks pretty good. Let's make this a little pointier. So we have these two. Let's make this 12 and 12 and save it. It's not pointier. Oh, because I think I'm actually getting taller. So let's go 8 and 8. Save that. Okay, that's getting better, and maybe this one should be 10. That's good. And if we could go crazy, let's see, 20. Oh yeah, that's a good one, but that's actually a little too much. Let's go 14. Okay, I really like this. Okay, finally we need to animate this coming in and coming out. So the way I like to do it is I like to move all of my animations kind of after everything is all built together. So let's do our tooltip before and our tooltip after. And so our base will be opacity of 0. So I can just save that, and now we're not seeing anything. But the thing is, sometimes with opacity 0, we'll still be able to select the things. So we can also do pointer events of none. Pointer events of none means it's not detectable by mouse, but it is still in the flow. Okay, so we have our pointer events of none. So let's do a now a tooltip. Actually, I'll just copy this. This will make it easier. Make a duplicate of this. I can do a tooltip hover before and a tooltip hover after. Change this to opacity 1 and pointer events all. Save this, and then boom, we have our nice little tooltip. One more thing that I like to do is have a little animation or transition. So I can do transition of, I don't know, 500 milliseconds. And I could put opacity up here, but it doesn't really matter. And we have 500 milliseconds. I'm going to slow this or speed this way up because I think it's like way too slow. And boom, there we go. We have a nice little transition. So this was an example of a relatively simple way of making a tooltip using the data tooltip attribute and then using that tooltip attribute in the content attr, if you will. Kind of a really cool, simple way of doing it. Obviously, it will kind of break apart when we get a little bit more responsive here. Things will kind of won't stay together, but it's a really just simple way of showing how we can use this technique. And then later on, we can create a more advanced tooltip that will be able to detect like where you are on the screen, have more than just one single string here. But that's for another episode. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.